Welcome back, everybody. So, my next movie review for you is The Incredible Hulk. So, The Incredible Hulk was released on the 13th of June 2008. It was directed by Louis Leterrier. It was made on a budget of 150 million US dollars and made 246.8 million US dollars. The cast in this movie is reasonably impressive as well. It consists of Ed Norton, Liv Tyler, Tim Roth, William Hurt, and just plus many, many others. So, in this kind of next installment in the Incredible Hulk franchise, or possibly reboot of the Incredible Hulk franchise, we follow Dr. Bruce Banner, who is exposed to an extreme amount of gamma radiation, which then leads on to him basically whenever he gets angry, he turns into this whacking great big green rage monster that can destroy pretty much anything in its path. So, what do I think about this movie? Okay. This is an interesting one for me because I don't dislike this movie at all. I enjoy it, but there's certain parts of this movie which I dislike. This will be a tricky movie review because there are, like I said, there's some things in this that I actually like, and there's some things in this that I actually don't like, and I'm gonna get into them right about now. Okay, so here we go. Like I said, there are things about this movie that I generally like, and there are some things about this movie that I don't particularly like. But as a general, by the end of this movie, I was still entertained. I'm not saying that this movie is absolutely amazing. I'm not saying that. There are some pretty big problems, in my personal opinion, about this movie. But as a general, by the end of the movie, I can go, yeah, I'm pretty entertained. Now, one of the things I do like in this is that they don't actually waste any time giving you the backstory during the film. This happens within the opening sequence, within the credits of this movie, where you get to see how Bruce Banner got transformed into the Hulk, or the events which led him to be turned into the Hulk. I generally really, really like that touch of it because they don't actually have to do too much of that then in the movie. But after that point, it just feels like there is no plot in this movie. Now, this could be me potentially being a little bit picky, but I honestly felt there wasn't a huge plot in this. And it almost felt like the kind of attention to detail or the lack of original writing from the writers was just like they just were sat in their office and just like going, okay, Incredible Hulk movie, gotta think of something new. I got an idea, and before the pen gets to the paper, they kind of forgot because essentially this is just a game of cat and mouse in this movie with a few other little subplot lines. In other words, a love interest, and then just a big monster for the Hulk to fight at the end of this movie. So it actually makes it just a little bit more interesting. Now you may think it is a Hulk. No, you might be going, but it's a Hulk movie. All we really want to see is Hulk smash stuff. I get that. I am on board with that. But let me put it in concept for you is that the 2003 Hulk movie, even though I really do not enjoy that movie that much because it's too comic book-ish, the storyline in that movie had a bit more depth to that movie, which just made it a little bit more interesting for me. I'm not a huge fan of that movie, but there is a huge backstory which they do explore. They're not just relying on Bruce Banner basically getting angry and then him smashing stuff. This movie is solely pretty much for that. You spend most of the movie waiting for the Hulk to arrive because there isn't a lot else story wise in this to keep your mind ticking and interested. It might be just me being picky, but this is just personally how I felt. It just felt that the writers were just like, what can we do which is different? And I just sat there thinking about what they could do with different, and they potentially touch on certain different ideas, but they never really go into that to explore it. Like I said, I'm not saying that waiting for the Hulk throughout this movie is a bad thing. It's just that I felt that, you know, I think they could have gone a little bit more into depth with this. And maybe introduce some ideas. And you can't say there isn't any ideas because they've done a series in the 70s which lasted I don't know how many series. They could have taken snippets from that series and introduced it into this movie. Like again, like I said, might be me just being picky, but that's just how it felt. This is how it come across to me. Now, performances in this movie isn't that bad. Now, knowing that Mark Ruffalo took on the helm of Bruce Banner and the Hulk in movies afterwards, I still enjoyed Ed Norton playing Bruce Banner and the Hulk. I'm not necessarily saying that he is the best choice for it, especially after Mark Ruffalo got cast. Watching him, I'm more used to him now. But I wouldn't necessarily saying that he is the first choice that I choose to become the Hulk. His performance in this isn't that bad. It's still enjoyable. I generally like Ed Norton as an actor as well. I just feel that he might have been just a little bit out of place in this movie. And it's exactly the same with Liv Tyler's character in here, Betty Ross. I just found her. She didn't really give a huge amount to this movie, in my personal opinion, apart from being Bruce Banner's love interest. Yes, she is there to help him in certain ways, but she never really does a lot in this movie as such. And I'm not saying that her performance is bad, I just feel that there is that emotional attachment to obviously Bruce Banner and the Hulk, but I didn't feel that she really gave a lot to the movie. And it's exactly the same with Colonel Ross. Now, I know the reason why he's in here. He is like the cat in this, and then there's the mouse, which is Bruce Banner, which then the mouse can turn pretty much into a hecking great big lion. But, I didn't mind his performance in here. I found him strangely annoying in certain places, which I'm near enough sure that they are. They've done this for a reason. He's almost like you want to hate. They made him want you to hate him. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that, again, I enjoyed his performance. It's just that in certain points of this movie, I was just like going, I really want to see less of you. But again, that's potentially me being picky. By far, the performance I really enjoyed in here is Tim Roth's appearance. He is like the main villain in this, and he gradually becomes the main villain in this. I genuinely like what they did here. He is a human who sees a whacking great big green rage monster who can throw a forklift like a softball and is still going, do you know what? I want to have a go at this. He's a fighter. I want to have a go. He said, this thing just literally throws something at him and goes, and he's still going, I really, really want to have a go at that. I want to take this thing down. And yes, he does have to take some enhancers to do this, but he has got no shits and no fear in any way, shape, or form. I generally liked what they did here with his character. So essentially, okay, the cast is quite good, but I think in certain areas they just kind of failed to kind of capitalize on certain characters. Other things that really do were little niggles in this, which there's quite a few, but I'm just going to touch on a couple maybe, is that Bruce Banner changes into the Hulk while getting angry. So there is a scene there where Bruce Banner is about to do the deed with Betty Ross and all that kind of stuff, and he says, I can't get angry, I can't get excited. I'm just like that. Anger is what turns you into the Hulk, not excitement. So what's stopping you from doing it? And it's one of those moments where it just shows that there's a few little bit of inconsistencies into the storyline, which really kind of bring the mark down for me on this movie. Now, there are other things in this movie that it just seems a little bit out of place in certain areas, and it just seems like this movie was slightly rushed. They're the things pretty much I dislike about this movie. Things I generally do like is the look of the Hulk. I generally like the look. He's ripped, he looks mean, he looks nasty, he's something different from what we're used to. I admit it's probably not the ideal Hulk to advertise this to a kind of a younger audience or a child audience, because he does look very, very scary on this, which I generally do like, to be fair, but I also understand it's probably not good for children of a certain age. Hence the reason hence the reason why they probably toned him down in the Avengers movie. But for me personally, I actually liked it, and there is a bit in there where he kicks Tim Roth's character straight across a park and hits a tree, and there's a swag great big thud, and then the next time you see him, he's in hospital with all these pins hanging out. I get that's probably just a little bit too dark for an audience that they were trying to capture, hence the reason they probably toned it down. But for me personally, I love that. You just like, you spend at least most of this movie waiting for the Hulk to appear, because you know from that first time you see him, you go, okay, which you don't really get to see him, but you just really generally just liked him on screen because he's something. It's a version of the Hulk that I've never really seen before. And other things I really enjoy is the fact that they use the line, "You won't like me when I'm angry." You get the green eyes kind of thing. You get that suspenseful build up, and as soon as those green eyes, you know the shit's gonna go down, and it's just something that is really, really enjoyable. I generally like what they did. He is a badass in this. They made and the Hulk. I just generally liked what they did. He is a darker green. He is a darker kind of Hulk who has a lot more kind of aggression, a lot more kind of an attitude to him. And I generally liked that feeling. He is a rage monster. This is what you want to see. He can pretty much stop anything in his way. I'm sure there's more about this. Just the visually colouring of this movie, I really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, it carries a very dark feel, especially when the Hulk's about. I like that. Musical score in here really suits the movie for when the Hulk is transformation. There is a great little end scene where you see the Hulk again, like the end sequence of this movie, and there's this big suspenseful build up into this, and you just get behind it. I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm on board here. But unfortunately, because of the lack of story in this, for me personally, and certain other inconsistencies in this movie, hence the reason why excitement apparently turns him into the Hulk, and the performances not really being the best, and misplaced performances or unnecessary characters in this, but are just there for like a love interest, and just lack of plot line in this movie. And this, I know this is probably me just being too picky. It just felt like the writers were like going, we can't really think of anything, but yet they done a series that lasted over 6 or 7 series, and you couldn't take snippets out of that and just introduced it into the movie. Maybe I know it's just me. I personally, I just wanted to see a little bit more, and knowing that the Marvel Universe in their movies onwards paid quite a lot of attention to detail in their movies, it just felt like they could have done more. Is there anything else that I dislike in this movie? If there is, I can't remember what I was going to say, because I didn't write too many notes down on this. So, if I was to rate this movie, I probably would give this a 5 out of 10, but more leaning towards 4. I personally believe that it might be me just being a little bit too picky on certain things in this movie, which is the reason why this rating went down, because I did say that by the end of this movie I still felt entertained. It's not a bad movie, and I do recommend this movie, but for me personally, this is the reason why I got like a 4 to 5 out of 10, because I kind of wanted more, because the MCU do pay a lot of attention to detail in their movies, and I do generally like their script, even though it can be slightly predictable, which is this movie. It is slightly predictable. It's still, I just felt like I was wanting more through this movie. I wanted more of a backstory. I wanted more of a different plot that was going on here, instead of this is just this game of cat and mouse, because you have got potential there to explore new ideas. I don't know the whole universe that well, but they can generally make it a more in-depth story, say like for people like me that like to see a bit of a plot. But visually and CGI effects, and to watch the Hulk, it is an entertaining watch. It's just that I felt that I was feeling that I wanted more in this movie, and hence the reason why it's got a 4 or 5 out of 10. If you haven't seen this movie, I do recommend this movie for you to watch, and if you do, come back, please tell me what you think, put it in the comments down below. If you have seen it, please tell me what you think, put it in the comments down below. As normal, hope you all have a great rest of the day, whatever you're doing. Please take care, and goodbye.